St. John's River, and downtown. You can do just that from the rooftop bar at Black Sheep in historic Five Points. Happy hour is Tuesday through Sunday from 4 to 7 p.m. For all you night owls, enjoy nightcap specials on Friday and Saturday from 10 p.m. to midnight. Snack on some delicious offerings from the bar menu like fried green olives or the famous Black Sheep burger. Make your next happy hour at Black Sheep.
It's that time of the year again for the taste of golf. So come join your boy at TPC Sawgrass on April 26th for fine cuisine from the top chefs in the area, craft cocktails, fun games, and unique auction items. This signature event is ideal for networking with a substantial and sophisticated audience who is passionate about the game of golf, the intrinsic values associated with it, and of course, impacting the youth of our community. Y'all know he love the kids. All proceeds benefit First Tee North Florida. So get your tickets at tasteofgolf.com. Come on, somebody.
It's time to fire up the grill. Houston's Meat Specials of the Week. 10 pounds of fresh jumbo chicken wings at $19.95. Fresh baby back ribs, $2.99 a pound. And whole Packer T-bone steaks at $4.95 a pound. Sliced free. Only at Houston's Meat, Main Street and 295.
Jacksonville is a great place to live. And if you love where you live, you should invest in it. That's why more and more people bank with One-to-One Financial, Jacksonville's hometown credit union. We invest every penny back into North Florida, backing the very best small businesses, nonprofits, and of course the family home. Why put your money with some big out-of-state bank when you can invest in where you love to live? One-to-One Financial. We're your hometown credit union. Sign up today at one-to-one-fcu.org. Federally insured by NCUA.
Men, if you're struggling with erectile dysfunction or PE and frustrated taking pills that don't work, Prime Men's Medical Center offers breakthrough medical treatments that effectively treat your problem. 98% of patients experience immediate results during their first office visit. And for a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are completely free. Listen to a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Rubinsky. The physicians at Prime Men's Medical Center offer the most advanced treatments that eliminate ED and PE. Now men are lasting 30, 60, 90 minutes or longer, regardless of age or medical history.
Guys, to eliminate your frustration in the bedroom, call Prime Men's Medical Center now to take advantage of this exclusive limited-time offer. Your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free, and you'll see instant results right in the office. Call now, 904-664-8217. 904-664-8217. That's 904-664-8217.
Now is the perfect time to make sure your home is protected from storms by scheduling a complimentary roof inspection with Universal Roof and Contracting. Protect your biggest investment, your home. Get a free wind mitigation with your full roof replacement plus a free Platinum Protection Warranty upgrade. This offer expires April 30th and restrictions apply. Universal Roof and Contracting, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. License number CCC 123-0147, CBC 125-8484.
UniversalRoof.com.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes, and I said yes to Yas, Dr. Mitchell Yas, and the Yas Method. Now I know, you've probably tried medications, treatments, injections, even surgery. Maybe the reason you're still in pain is because they're treating the wrong thing and not addressing the root causes. Well, I know from personal experience, this does happen. But I found the best-kept secret in pain elimination, Dr. Yas and the Yas Method. Call him today, 904-906-YASS, and say yes to Yas.
Sorry, but we actually have a wait list for our Monstera.
Shaw's greenhouse is really bringing in the green.
We can't keep snake plants in stock.
She needs a construction manager to build on her roots and grow.
We could add a whole section for ferns, and here we'd have dahlias, dahlias, and more dahlias.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The IRS has just received $80 billion in funding to hire additional agents for aggressive collections enforcement. If you owe the IRS, now is the time to take action before the IRS comes after you or your business. There's no time to waste. Call J. David Tax Law, a firm right here in Jacksonville, for a no-cost consultation at 904-507-4777. That's 904-507-4777. Or visit jdavidtaxlaw.com. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. The sports world keeps spinning, and the local conversation continues. Now, Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Thursday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Tony Salazar. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Appreciate you joining us here to kick off a Thursday night edition on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Dylan Denmark does have the evening off. We got a ton to get into. Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson both met the media today down at TIAA Bank Field. We will play those thoughts for you in just a moment. A lot of interesting things were said by the general manager of the Jaguars and the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Our guest lineup looks like this. Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. He's one of our guys here on Hacker After Dark. I think Ryan's been with us at least once a month dating back to December. He will come on tonight as we will talk Jaguars, Anthony Richardson, AFC South, and more, as the NFL Draft is now 1 week from tonight. That is hard to believe. 1 week from right now, Roger Goodell will be walking down that podium and will be starting the 2023 NFL Draft. So Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. Also coming up later on in the 8 o'clock hour, David Waters of the Gators Breakdown podcast. We'll review Florida spring ball. We'll talk a little recruiting. Billy Napier is hot on the recruiting trail right now, and we'll kind of give an early outlook for 2023. Doesn't look great for the University of Florida. I think we can all agree with that. But are we maybe jumping the gun a little bit? So there's certainly a lot to get into, and we will do that with David Waters of the Gators Breakdown podcast coming up in less than 45 minutes. But as we do every night, to kick it off here on Hacker After Dark, we do give you a big deal of the night, and Tony Salazar. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So it has become a tradition down at TIAA Bank Field for Doug Peterson, Trent Baalke, or whomever the head coach and the general manager are, to meet with the media so that we can give you the information on what the Jaguars are telling us going in to the draft. Now, obviously, they're not going to let too much out of the bag, but I do think, particularly Trent Baalke, maybe a little more informative than some GMs have been in the past. There was a point when I used to go down to these things that Dave Caldwell was there, and I didn't even really listen to him anymore because I didn't even care because he was just awful. And you just had to assume that he was going to make the wrong decision because Dave Caldwell always made the wrong decision. Similarly with Gene Smith, kind of the same thing. Trent Baalke is, without a shadow of a doubt, the best general manager the Jacksonville Jaguars have had here in the last 15 years, and yet some of you dressed up as clowns at the end of 2021 to voice your frustration on him. So I'm happy he's using that as a little bit of motivation, because he is by far and away a better GM than Dave Caldwell ever was, and by far and away a better GM than Gene Smith ever was. Doug Peterson also met the media. We'll let you hear from both of them. We'll actually begin with Doug. I thought this was an interesting question. I thought Doug gave an interesting answer. I'll let you decide for yourself. Doug Peterson earlier today was asked at this pre-draft luncheon, what happens if he and Trent Baalke disagree on a prospect come draft night?
If there's a discrepancy or there's something that we might differ on, we're gonna talk about that. We might even go to the tape, and watch some more film on a player, or, bring in the position coach, talk to him, or bring in the regional, the scout that looked at this guy, and just, exhaust everything we can and make sure that we're in agreement that when we pick a player that we're on the same page with that player. We're not always going to agree. That's just part of this process. But when we walk out of that draft room, Saturday night, those picks are ours. They're Jacksonville Jaguars. And that's the exciting thing that I appreciate from Trent, what he's allowed us as coaches to do in this process.
I thought, in listening to it today, one of the more interesting things that Trent Baalke said, and look, you know this, right? But it was interesting to hear a general manager say it. The difference during draft season between a head coach and a GM. The head coach is thinking about today, right? Meaning players that can help you right now. The general manager has to think about today and tomorrow. You got to think about not only guys that can help you right now, but you got to think on down the line. I believe it was our own Rick Ballou who asked the question about offensive tackle. Because look, in 2023, the Jaguars appear to be okay at offensive tackle. Cam Robinson's coming back off of injury. They said, by the way, that they expect him back for training camp, which is great news. You got Walker Little. You signed Josh Wells, a guy that has started, 15 games the last couple of years down in Tampa, to now be your third tackle, your swing tackle, if you will. But in 2024, Cam Robinson may no longer be here. Walker Little may want a new contract, and Josh Wells is 32 years old. So, not that tackle is a need in 2023. It wouldn't necessarily help you this year, but it might be a big need in 2024, and how GMs have to think about today and tomorrow, where admittedly coaches think more about today because their job is to win this next upcoming season. With that as a backdrop, Doug Peterson also talked about today, do the Jaguars, with the loss of Arden Key, the uncertainty surrounding DeJuan Smoot, and quite frankly, the pass rush was lacking last year anyway, do the Jaguars need to address pass rush in next weekend's NFL draft?
Well, from the coaching side, obviously it's an area that we've got to improve. We do feel like we have the men in the locker room to get it done. Going into year 2 will make a big difference in the scheme of things. And, so we're comfortable there. And obviously, we got to make sure that we have the right guys, at the end of the day. And so, we look forward to that. It's a challenge for us, but we know that's an area that must be addressed.
It's an area that absolutely has to be addressed. So if you go last year for the Jacksonville Jaguars, all right, and you pull up their league or their team leaders last year, Josh Allen led the team in sacks with 7.5. DeJuan Smoot gave you 5.5. Arden Key gave you 4.5. Nobody else gave you more than 3.5. That's when you get to Trayvon Walker, Roy Robertson-Harris, Devon Hamilton, Foye Oluokun. Jaguars have an issue at pass rush, all right? You cannot be an elite team, particularly in the AFC, when you're playing all these absolutely ridiculous quarterbacks and your team leader has 7.5 sacks. That's not going to work. So it's incumbent on Josh Allen, who, by the way, is going into a contract year. We talked about that last night. Hopefully that lights a fire under him going into a contract year. Got to have more than 7.5 sacks. Trayvon Walker, same thing. But I don't necessarily know if the Jaguars are going to address this in the draft. I do think they have enough salary cap room now where they are going to sign one of these veteran DNs. Whether it's a Frank Clark, whether it's a Justin Houston, whether it's a Leonard Floyd, whether it's a Jadeveon Clowney. I don't think Ngakwe's coming back here because I think there's still some ill will between he and some people in upper management. But there's still a lot of veteran pass rush type guys out there, and none of those guys are going to sign right now because they want to see how the draft plays out. You're going to get those guys in May and June, and the Jaguars have enough money freed up to not only sign the rookie class, but I think they are going to bring in one of those guys. So if your plan is to bring in, say, a Justin Houston or a Frank Clark to pair with Trayvon Walker, to pair with Josh Allen, Roy Robertson-Harris, is pass rush a need in the first round, or can you wait maybe to round 2, round 3, or even later? We always talk about the board too, right? The draft board, trust the board, the value board. How many times do we hear not only Trent Baalke, but every general manager in the NFL talk about the board? I thought this was really interesting today. On the Jaguars draft board, here's Trent Baalke talking about the fact that they have on their board 127 guys that they would feel comfortable in drafting.
We've done a lot of work on these guys. Our board is not laden with guys. I mean, we got 127 names on the board right now that are draftable for us. So when you figure 230 plus guys are getting drafted or 250, whatever that number is, you look at that, your odds, dwindle on having guys that are what you consider draftable as the draft unfolds. So the culture is huge. We spend a lot of time looking at these guys. Do they fit us? Do they not fit us? And there's a lot of guys that are taken off the board because they just don't fit our culture. They're good players, but they just don't fit what we're looking for. And the coaching staff has a big weigh-in on that as well.
I mean, think about that for a second. So next week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you're going to have roughly 255 guys get drafted. 260, it's usually somewhere around there.
257.
257. All right, thank you, Salazar. So 257 draft picks next week. Trent Baalke just told you that he has 127 draftable guys. That's not even half of the draft picks that are going to be announced next week. Again, 257. That means 130 more guys will get drafted than what the Jaguars currently have labeled as draftable guys on their board. That's pretty nuts when you think about it. And obviously they have, grades on these guys, draftable in round 7, round 6. The way it looks right now, this may change. It probably will change. But right now, the Jaguars pick number 24 in round 1. They pick 56 in round 2. They pick 88 in round 3. And then they have 2 picks in round 4, numbers 121 and 127. No 5th round selection. I forget what trade that was for, but they lost their 5th round pick. That might have been the first pick they lost because of Ridley, which is fine by me. And then they have 3 6th round picks and 1 7th round pick. It was not all draft-related questions today, though, at the draft luncheon. 2 big additions. Well, 1 addition and 1 guy that's going to remain here, Evan Ingram and Calvin Ridley. Let's begin with Evan Ingram. He is not in the offseason workouts right now because he can't be. He has not signed his franchise tag, nor has he signed a long-term deal. So technically, he is not under contract to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trent Baalke was asked about the Evan Ingram situation earlier today.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. The goal is to get this thing done. These negotiations are always, there's ups and downs as you go through the process, and you're just trying to come to a common goal here is to get him signed. And, I think we're trending that direction, but we're not there yet. And we'll continue to work to get him signed to a long-term extension, and hopefully we can get that done.
I brought this up when he retweeted it about a month ago. The franchise tag number for Evan Ingram is $11.5 million, which, by the way, is massively more than Dalton Schultz and Mike Gesicki got in free agency. There was just simply no tight end market in free agency this year. So Evan Ingram is going to get paid for 1 year if he only signs the franchise tag $2.5 million or more dollars than guys like Dalton Schultz and Mike Gesicki, who are also considered to be top 10, top 15 tight ends in the National Football League. So it's not all bad. But Ingram, I remember on Twitter, replied to a tweet or quote tweeted a tweet basically implying that wide receiver franchise tag numbers are in the $14 to $15 million range, but because he is labeled as a tight end, it's only $11.5 million. And I thought, if he goes public on social media and he knows people respond to everything he does on social media, and he says that, obviously he's thinking it, obviously his agent is thinking it. And that's why everybody we've had on here, I've asked, is the Evan Ingram situation going to get sticky from a financial standpoint? Well, now here we are on April 20th. 1 week of offseason conditioning is in the books. He is not there yet. They have until mid-July to figure this out. So they have time. But let this thing go another month or 2. Let's get into early to mid-June, and then I think the conversation's going to be, all right, now he's missing OTA practices. If, and again, I'm way down the line here, because he could sign it in 5 minutes and it's a moot point. But if he misses mandatory minicamp, do we have a sticky financial situation with Evan Ingram? And if the Jaguars think it's going to come to that, is tight end more in play in round 1 than maybe we were led to believe when they franchised Ingram in the first place? Because if you don't get a long-term deal done with him and he plays on the franchise tag, you're going to have the same issue next year. He's going to be a free agent again. The other big addition, of course, is Calvin Ridley. I always say when Calvin Ridley arrived at TIAA Bank Field, you need to find people in your life that are as excited to see you when you get out of a car as Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson were to see Calvin Ridley get out of that car. It's very obvious the enthusiasm in that building towards Calvin Ridley. Doug Peterson was asked today about Calvin Ridley and the excitement in the building.
It's just exciting. He's fired up. He's excited to be here. We're excited to have him. He's, he's been working with Trevor, obviously, and the guys spent some time together. And, it's just another piece. It's another piece to our puzzle, and obviously a huge piece that can help us, head in the right direction, the direction we want to go, and all of that. So we're just excited. We're excited. When we start phase 2 of the off-season program, we can be on the field with the guys and really see how everybody is really shaping up at that time.
So there you go, Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke meeting the media earlier today down at TIAA Bank Field. The draft 1 week from tonight. Well, the AFC South, by the way, could be a drastically different division 1 week from tonight than it is right now. As we talked about earlier in the week here on Hacker After Dark, there is a realistic possibility. Because remember, Houston has not only pick number 2, but pick number 12, right? Because of the Cleveland trade with Deshaun Watson. So I would think it is a certainty that at one of those spots, either 2 or 12, or if they package 12 to move back into the top 10, however they do it, they're going to end up with a quarterback next Thursday night. I think Indianapolis, I'd be stunned if they don't end up with a quarterback next Thursday night. And there's all that talk about Tennessee trying to get into the top 10, potentially for a quarterback. So are you really going to have every other team in the AFC South draft a quarterback 1 week from tonight? I think it's absolutely possible, and it would be fascinating if that were the case. In fact, I wonder, has that ever happened in NFL history? I'm sure it probably has. But 3 teams in the same division taking quarterbacks in the top 10 of the same draft. If it has happened, it definitely could not have happened very often. Because odds are you're never going to have 3 teams that bad to all be picking in the top 10 and that all need quarterbacks at the exact same time. That would be an interesting trivia question. I might try to dive into that later on, see if I can find an answer for you. 641-1010 is the phone number on the phone line and on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Again, we'll do a little college football in about a half an hour. David Waters of the Gators Breakdown Podcast. But coming up next, we'll remain on the National Football League. One of my favorites when it covers the draft is my man Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. He is certainly one of our guys here on Hacker After Dark. We're going to talk to Ryan about Anthony Richardson, about that AFC South question, about the Jaguars certainly, and about this draft class as a whole. What is Ryan Fowler, a guy that eats, sleeps, breathes the draft? What are his expectations going into next Thursday night? The Draft Network is a valuable website this time of year, and we're lucky enough to have Ryan Fowler with us next. A Thursday night edition of Hacker After Dark with Tony Salazar in for Dylan Denmark. I'm the hacker Ryan Green here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Now, another classic moment in Jags history.
The field goal is good! They have come back from 27-0 to win the game!
1010XL, home of the Jaguars.
Fact, we all want to feel better, especially when our joints hurt. Are you stuck on the sidelines but want to get back in the game of life? My friend Dr. Alan Nathans has a no-needle regenerative clinic for people with degenerated arthritic joints, like bone-on-bone knees, shoulders, hips, and more. He uses no-needle soft wave tissue regeneration technology that activates your own stem cells to grow brand new tissue. Long-term results. Don't do another cortisone injection. Dance at 50, golf at 60, river run at 70. Yes, yes, and yes. Check out Dr. Nathans at drnathans.com.
Learn how to grow and succeed in your business. The UNF Small Business Development Center presents an exclusive opportunity to hear from North Florida's award-winning small business leaders and local entrepreneurs. Register for your seat or a full table at the Small Business Week Awards Luncheon event at UNF on Friday, May 5th. And come network with the winners. More information at sbdc.unf.edu. That's sbdc.unf.edu. Sponsored by One-to-One Financial and JMI.
There is so much I love about spring. Mia here. It's hard to choose a favorite. Kind of like the amazing used selection you'll find at Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned. I'm talking 400 premium pre-owned on the lot. So to make your decision a little easier, you get 30 days to love your purchase or exchange it for one that you do. And with a 4.7 out of 5-star rating and over 16,000 Google reviews, you know my friends at Arlington are going to help you pick the best ride for you. Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, and online at arlingtontoyota.com.
When you buy a used Ford, Lincoln, or Mercury part from Rusty Acres, the part is guaranteed, and they'll guide you on how to install it at no charge. For used Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury parts, call Rusty Acres at 786-1777.
This is Keith Catlin for Catlin Truck Accessories, and we are so blessed to be in business for over 100 years. Over 100 years of the best product and customer service means you can count on Catlin. From Rollin' Lock bed covers to Lear toppers to Cam Locker toolboxes, Catlin Truck Accessories has you covered when it comes to your truck or van. We do those too. Got a fleet of vehicles? We can outfit them all.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
One name, one location, 100 years. You can count on Catlin.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On April 20th, 1912, after several rainouts and devastating news of the Titanic, Fenway Park officially opens. The Red Sox beat the New York Highlanders 7-6 in 11 innings.
Don't suffer another day with cheap box store cornhole boards. Order your custom luxury boards from Mystic Cornhole Company right here in Jax. Ask about pro-level bags, lights, score stands, and other accessories. And score with Mystic Cornhole Company.
Join the U.S. Army as they sponsor the second annual Go Ruck event at Met Park, April 21st through 23rd. Enjoy a massive 3-day fitness and music festival with an ice-cold beer. Competitors compete for a spot on the leaderboard with competitions including the obstacle course, a scavenger hunt, boot camp, sandbag and rucksack training, urban obstacle course, and more. Sandlot Jacks, promoting physical and mental health through social fitness. It's a 3-day massive event to highlight fitness and music.
Any adventure, any task, anytime. There's a CF Moto Utility ATV or UTV for any rider. See the full lineup at Ride Now Beach Boulevard. Venture seekers can start with the trail-tested capability and comfort of the C-Force lineup. For the ultimate in UTV performance, check out the Z-Force 950. Find your utility ATV at Ride Now Beach Boulevard or online at cfmotousa.com. ATVs are recommended for the use only by riders age 16 years and older. ATVs can be hazardous to operate. CF Moto recommends approved training course for safety and training information.
The Northeast Florida Safety Council has been keeping Florida safe for 80 years. I'm Dominic Whitley, Environmental Health and Safety Director. What kind of safety culture have you developed at your business? Safety is a saver of lives, limb, and the bottom line. A great safety culture protects your most important investments, your employees and your business, and results in great success. Let us help you develop a successful safety culture. Visit us at nefsc.org and become an elite member today. Again, that is nefsc.org.
From Cuba to Nicaragua, the journey of master blender Rene Lorenzo has created some masterpieces. HVC Cigars boasts a superb blend of the best Nicaraguan tobaccos in smooth and flavorful handcrafted cigars. Come out and taste these masterful blends at Tobacco Cove this Saturday from 1 to 4 to experience a Nicaraguan perfection. Kick back and relax in our comfortable lounge with food, prizes, and great deals on HVC Cigars. Tobacco Cove at Bay Meadows in San Jose this Saturday from 1 to 4 for a taste of Nicaragua.
On the outside, everything looks fine, but on the inside, an unseen enemy is plotting the destruction of your home. Termites can be deadly to your home unless you fight back with Southern Fumigation. 259-9811. They will service your home from inspection to completion. No contracting out your job to other companies. 259-9811. Southern Fumigation offers a free pest inspection with no obligation. That's Southern Fumigation, 259-9811.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now, another interview on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We are about a week away from the NFL draft. That is hard to believe. One of our main guys talking draft here on 1010XL is my friend Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network, and he's always kind enough to join us here in Jacksonville, Florida. Ryan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Crazy. Yeah, you said it, but a little over a week away. It comes fast every single year, but always appreciate you having me on, Ryan.
Well, the crazy thing is, I was telling you this off air, it feels like you and I didn't do this all that long ago, and it's been over a month since we talked. I mean, it has just flown by. All right, so a month ago when you and I talked, it looked like C.J. Stroud was going to be the number one pick for Carolina, Bryce Young to Houston. That's at least the way it looked then. Ryan, what has happened in the last month? Because everything you hear now, it appears Bryce Young is on his way to Carolina. First of all, do you believe that? And if so, what changed?
Yeah, so first things first, Carolina does like Bryce Young. They do like him a lot. And the bottom line is we have gotten to this point in the draft process to where there are smoke screens everywhere. Teams are looking to say, look, I like this prospect. I don't like this prospect. Looking to trade up, trade down, get my guy here. Maybe I can add some value later in the round. This is the time of the draft to where it is the final push where teams are finalizing their board. They're finalizing top 30 visits. And you're hearing everything about certain prospects to certain teams to where in months past to where that's actually more accurate than what it is now. It's just how crazy it's going to get. Not just now, Ryan, but even on Thursday night, when this thing kicks off next week in Kansas City, all chaos is going to break loose. All it takes, as we know, is one team, and every single board across the league changes immediately. But for me right now, I do think it is Bryce Young to Carolina at 1. And kind of the situation over a decade ago when it was Indianapolis and with Washington, whoever didn't take Andrew Luck or Robert Griffin III at 1 or 2, the other was going to go second. So I think it's going to be Bryce Young at 1 to Carolina. And I do think C.J. Stroud's going to go to Houston at 2, even though there have been some conversations whether Houston should or should not take a quarterback this year.
Now, that's interesting, and I want to get to that in a moment because there has been a lot of talk about that. Quickly on Carolina, what I've heard, and I don't know if you've heard the same thing, is that Frank Reich, the head coach, might be more a C.J. Stroud guy. But the ownership seems to be more Bryce Young, and the ownership is going to win out in that situation. Is there any validity to that?
Absolutely there is, and I think it happens across the league with a lot, and not just in day 1 picks, but day 2 and even day 3 guys you're trying to find value on boards, and just some in ownership. Again, it reigns supreme, and really that kind of unfortunately brings a little wrinkle into the process as far as allowing the football people to do their football jobs. And that ultimately is what keeps organizations like, you look at the Patriots in years past, you look at Kansas City right now and the success that they've had, allowing football people to do their jobs, not ownership. So if that comes to fruition to where it is C.J. Stroud at 1, I mean, I'm not going to split hairs on the prospects as far as the fit because I like both guys. They're the top 2 quarterbacks in my class, Bryce first, C.J. second. I think they're both good fits in Carolina, but there is absolutely validity as far as ownership just taking supreme and putting the fist down and saying, hey, CJ's my guy over Bryce here at 1.
Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, that gets us to Houston at 2. If Bryce Young goes 1, you mentioned C.J. Stroud, you believe would be the Texans' pick, and yet we do hear at least rumblings that Houston may not be completely sold on C.J. Stroud. So if Bryce Young goes 1, what do the Texans ultimately do?
Yeah, and the reason why I say I like CJ at 2 is because I don't think we're giving the Texans enough credit, if you will, for the offensive skill players that they do have. I like Dameon Pierce. The tackle spots with Tunsil and Howard are fine. They brought in Dalton Schultz, who's probably a top 15 to potentially 12 tight end in this league, wherever you want to rank him. And on the outside, you got some guys. They brought in Robert Woods. Now, again, not crazy needle movers. John Mechie is hopefully healthy this fall. They have some bodies on offense. But for me, if they don't go C.J. Stroud and they don't want to get that quarterback in the building, I look at their head coach, and that is DeMeco Ryans, a defensive-minded head coach. And the top player in the entire class for me is Mr. Will Anderson Jr., from the University of Alabama, a once in every 5, 6, 7 years prospect. Not going to use the word generational. You'll never hear that word come out of my mouth. But Will Anderson is a extremely refined player that has both a high floor, a high ceiling, and just fits what DeMeco Ryans wants to do as far as getting core athletes, foundational athletes for the organization to lay that foundation for success, not just in 2023 and hopefully raising a banner of optimism and competing in the AFC South where it's completely up in the air, but moving forward into the next 3 or 4 or 5 years and becoming a guy that is going to potentially, win some awards and perennial Pro Bowl down the line. So if it's not C.J. Stroud at 2, and the team maybe wants to trade up, whether it's Indianapolis or whether maybe it's a Seattle or someone else, I'm going to go Will Anderson at 2, and I wouldn't hesitate turning in that card.
Well, the interesting thing there, too, is the Texans own the 12th pick as well from
Right.
the Deshaun Watson trade. So if they go Will Anderson at 2, maybe they think either a Will Levis or a Hendon Hooker may fall to 12, or could they use 12 and maybe a second to get back into the top 10 to also get a quarterback? That'll be a fascinating aspect of next Thursday. So that gets us to 3. And that gets us to Arizona. And by all indications, Arizona wants out of there, and a lot of teams have called. The Raiders, the Colts, the Seahawks, maybe even the Titans, who are going to try to get in front of Indianapolis. I mean, what's Arizona thinking right now, Ryan, and what would you do if you were them?
Yeah, another organization that just has to figure it out. I talked about Houston as far as, they don't get credit as far as I think they have a better roster specifically on offense right now, but Arizona is just really an organization that is at the bottom of the barrel in the basement right now. They just have to for me, it's get as many picks as possible and look forward to the next 2-3 years with Jonathan Gannon as their new head coach and new bodies in the building to ultimately improve this organization. And whether that's going from 3 to 7, 3 to 8, or dropping out of the top 10 to 11, 12, and picking up extra picks. Now, we can play hypotheticals and say this team's going to trade up or this team's going to trade up. But the bottom line is you got to get a team that wants to trade up so you can trade back in the first place. But if they do stay at 3 and they like a guy, I want to see Jalen Carter in Arizona. I know there's a lot of stuff with character and some things. I'm not going to be the guy that's going to come on here and talk about a kid's character. All I'm here for is evaluating the football player. And Jalen Carter is extremely talented. You look at that Georgia defense last year, and you saw Devontae Wyatt and Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean, and you said, who's that guy in 88? Well, that was Jalen Carter. And he was dominant again this year, and I think he's going to be a dominant NFL presence pushing the interior, whether he's at nose or 1 tech or 3 tech. So if they do stay at 3, Ryan, I see them taking a guy, or they should take a guy like Jalen Carter. But all indications right now is that they want to trade back and get more picks, and I do think that's the right route.
Couple of more for Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. 3 to me at Arizona is so fascinating because Indianapolis at 4. So if Tennessee wants, say, an Anthony Richardson, do they believe they have to get in front of their AFC South rival? So you got Seattle at 5, but would Arizona hand Anthony Richardson to their division rival, which means they'd have to play him twice a year for the next decade? That to me is the ultimate game of chess, poker, whatever you want to call it, what Arizona's going to do at 3. The Tennessee Titans at 11. They have been snooping around quarterbacks this entire time. Do you believe, Ryan, that they would strongly consider getting in front of Indy for either Anthony Richardson or Will Levis? And in that case, which one would it be?
Yeah, I think you absolutely have to. I think this is a league to where either you got a guy or you're looking for one. And this is a class for me. If Bryce and CJ are gone with the first 2 overall picks, whether that is Carolina, Houston, or somebody else, I'm going Anthony Richardson, and I think they could trade up to whether it's past Seattle or past Indy, whatever they want to do. I think for me, it's Anthony Richardson. I know they took a guy last year, Malik Willis, that if you look at it from a 10,000-foot view, kind of similar skill sets, but you just have to figure out the quarterback position. Now, Tennessee is a run-centric offense, obviously with Derrick Henry, but you get a weapon like Anthony Richardson in that offense to where you want to run the ball 30-plus times a game, whether that's combined with Derrick Henry and Anthony Richardson, because the guy looks like a dang fullback running back himself. And then you get guys on the outside that just drafted Treylon Burks. They're going to add some more weapons, hopefully, in this draft on the outside to let sling it around a little bit. They got to get guys along the front 5. But if I'm Tennessee, got to get a guy, AFC South. They're not sold on Malik Willis. We know he was a project coming out of Liberty last year, dropped in the draft. Anthony Richardson in Tennessee, and AFC South, as I mentioned earlier, that's wide open. Allow him to progress in that offense and just hand off the ball 30 times a game to Derrick Henry. That's potentially a recipe for success.
Rough guesstimate. What would it cost Tennessee to go from 11 to 3?
Oh, my goodness. A lot. It would cost a lot, a haul. Again, hypotheticals are always fun. I think I at least give up a first next year, maybe a 2 or 3 this year, and a late round pick this year or even next year. It's a haul, and especially to jump the team that they're going to have to jump that may also want to move up and they may be getting better calls. They're in a great spot, supply and demand, right? And you're going to have to give up a haul to get up there.
And it's the ultimate game of chicken because you got Indianapolis at 4. They're very aware of what Tennessee's thinking. So does Indianapolis get on the phone with Arizona when they're on the clock and say, hey, we'll give you 4 and a third to move up 1 spot? I don't think it would cost much more than that to assure the fact that they get their guy and Tennessee doesn't.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the AFC South, look, we're taking special notice of the quarterbacks. With Trevor Lawrence, we're set here in Jacksonville, but there's a better chance than not that Houston, Indy, and maybe even Tennessee could end up with rookie quarterbacks out of this year's class. Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. All right, Ryan, that brings us to Jacksonville. You got to go way down the draft to find the 24th pick. Again, you and I have talked about this in the past. A couple of things have changed. The Jaguars added a few offensive linemen to the room, including Josh Wells, who I guess will be their swing tackle this year. So they're not between a rock and a hard place having to get an offensive tackle in round 1. Having said that, do you still believe offensive tackle in round 1 would be in play? Corner, we hear, is maybe in play, even a defensive end type. What do you see the Jaguars doing in round number 1?
Yeah, for me, I'm not targeting tackle on day 1. I like what they have right now. I know things are up in the air with Walker Little at right tackle. But for me, the focus turns to the defensive secondary. And that is a guy I talked about you with Cam Smith as far as placing him with Tyson Campbell. But I love Brian Branch in this Jacksonville defense. And the reason why I say that is because there has to be some competition with Trey Herndon at nickel, and allowing him to bump in front of Trey, play the nickel spot, but not just play the nickel and dominate there potentially, but his ability to play in the box, play safety, and do a lot of different things off the edge as well. He's not the biggest guy in the world, Ryan, but he's one of the most versatile defenders in this class and really one of the favorite defenders of mine in this class because of how cerebral he is and smart. Just flat out good football player that understands what he's looking at from a defensive perspective, looking at the complex offenses in the NFL today. And then you look at the corners that Jacksonville does have in Tyson Campbell, in Darius Williams. Again, not crazy needle movers by any means, but the safeties room has guys that are going to compete. But you get a guy like Brian Branch that can solidify the nickel spot to where we know offenses not just want to play their X's on the outside, they want to put them into the slot and try to get them free releases. You're not going to get a free release off of Brian Branch. So continuing to add young players on defense, we saw him add Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd, Chad Muma. They brought in Foye Olakun in free agency last year. Those guys are that core at the middle of your defense. You had a guy at nickel and Brian Branch that can play for a long, long time and not just wear a multitude of hats, but wear them well. That's the fit that I really like there at the back end of round 1. That also presents you a heck of a ton of value that Brian Branch really in the next 3-4 years wouldn't be surprised he's a top 3-4 defender from this class.
You know, we see Brian Branch a lot in a lot of mock drafts to Jacksonville. I saw a crazy comparison that he was made with, Ryan. That was of Minkah Fitzpatrick. I mean, is there any similarities to their games?
Yeah, a little bit. I think Minkah is a little bit smoother in coverage where he can play higher, and specifically in coverage. I want Brian living within the first 10 yards of line of scrimmage, if that makes sense. Minkah does a lot of single high stuff for Pittsburgh. It got a little bit more bulk to him, a little bit better tackler, especially coming downhill towards tight ends. I'm not going to ask Brian Branch to play every single down over a tight end. But there are similarities as far as their versatility. Obviously, both Alabama guys, that's obviously an easy comparison to make there. But, I mean, they do similar things, especially specifically in that the flatter areas of the defense, running down running backs, blitzing off the edge if you have to with some success, not just trying to be a bull in a china shop and hopefully things work out north-south. But there's some minor comparisons there. I think Minkah, again, has some more bulk. But I think they're different players in the fact that I want Brian living within the first 10 to 15 yards of the line of scrimmage, not playing too much single high safety.
Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. Ryan, leave us with this. You have put such great content on the Draft Network. This is kind of your Super Bowl, right? We're a week out from the draft. What can people look forward to when they head on over to thedraftnetwork.com?
Absolutely. Yeah, our coverage is in full speed, full steam ahead, right? Fifth gear over at thedraftnetwork.com. I have more audio, video content over there at the website. If you don't follow me already, you can shoot me a follow on Twitter, _Ryan Fowler as well.
Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. Ryan, we'll talk after the draft, but I mean this, man. I think I've had you on every month dating back to about December. I can't thank you enough. I know how busy you are right now, a week out. We really appreciate you taking time to join us, and we'll talk again in the month of May.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Keep your quarter panel clean with 1010XL.
Put the car against the wall wide open.
This Sunday at Talladega, brought to you by Famous Automotive Tire and Quick Lube, servicing every customer like they're famous. On your NASCAR station, 1010XL.
It's time to play Septic Tank Solutions. Question 1. How often should you get your septic tank pumped? Contestant 1?
When it starts running over in the yard?
No, that's a little late. Contestant 2? That's right, Duck. At least every 3 years.
For septic pump outs, inspections, to new septic tank and drain field installations, call Northeast Florida's only master septic contractor.
When you're stuck, call the Duck. 904-862-6769.
You love free, and at Ameris Bank, so do we. That's why we're proud to offer worry-free, hassle-free Ameris Bank free checking. Manage your money your way with convenient access to digital, mobile, and telephone banking, all with no monthly service fee or minimum balance requirements. At Ameris Bank, we're with you. For more information or to open an account, visit our local bankers in person or online at amerisbank.com/free checking. Other fees such as overdraft fees may apply. Ameris Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Head and neck cancers are quite common, but often go undetected until later stages. If you have lumps or bumps in your mouth or sores in your throat or difficulty swallowing, get screened for head and neck cancer with AckermanCancerCenter.com.
It's kind of like his own private locker, and you're his guest.
Every time we talk, I'm reinvigorated by my love of the game.
Hayes Carline here. Find my blog at 1010XL.com.
Hayes Blog is brought to you by Roland Reach Plumbing, where quality and experience count.
And now, Woody's Barbecue presents the subliminal advertising approach.
Let's eat.
Kids say the smartest things.
At Woody's Barbecue, it's what we do. Let's eat.
Children under 5 die from drowning in Florida more than any other state. Together, we can reduce the risk of drowning. The YMCA has programs accessible to families that teach essential water safety skills. Face the water with confidence. Learn more at watersafetyflorida.org.
Attention golfers, Hidden Hills Golf Club has become an attractive destination for golfers all over North Florida. You too will enjoy our classic Arnold Palmer design that'll test your game and keep you coming back. Book a tee time today at hiddenhillsgc.com.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. You've heard us talk about it. Window World, the #1 window replacement company in the USA, selling over 1 million windows each year for the past 8 years.
That's a lot of satisfied customers, and why J.D. Powers has awarded Window World Best in Customer Satisfaction 3 out of 4 years.
Window World stands behind their slogan, simply the best for less. With Window World, you get top quality windows at a price that leaves more of your money in your bank account, and you get the absolute best guarantee there is in the window replacement industry. When compared to our competition, there is none. See for yourself. Call the competition. Get quotes from them. But before you buy, get Window World's free estimate and compare the quality of the windows and the price.
You'll see.
And when your new Window World windows are installed and they're saving you money on your energy bills, if anything goes wrong with those windows, Window World and I will be there to make it right. That's my guarantee.
Call Window World today. Start saving money on your new windows and your energy bills, and take vacation with your savings. Window World, online at windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors and siding.
E.T. here, and y'all know how much I like my brown water, but I ain't gonna lie, it gives me headaches sometimes. So my alternative is Brackish Vodka. This gluten-free alternative to Tito's is 100% local, and all monies stays right here in Duval. Not only does Brackish Vodka make you feel good, but when you support Brackish Vodka, you're also helping local charities. Try it side by side with your favorite vodka, and you will taste and smell how natural Brackish Vodka really is. And when you do, remember who sent you. Come on, somebody.
General RV is having a Factory Direct pricing sale. Factory Direct. Factory Direct. It's all happening April 19th through the 23rd. We want to make it easy for you to get out camping, so we're rolling back prices. They can't get any lower. 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 That means thousands of dollars in savings on motorhomes, travel trailers, fifth wheels, and more. General RV is having a factory direct pricing sale. Only at General RV in Orange Park on Wells Road off 295.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball presented by FIS is home all weekend at 1-to-1 Financial Ballpark. It's Coors Light Thirsty Thursday tonight, and then Red Shirt Friday and fireworks tomorrow presented by Gate Express Car Wash. The first 2,000 fans Saturday get free Jumbo Shrimp socks with more fireworks. Then on Baptist Health Sunday Family Fun Day, kids run the bases after the game. Tickets start at just $5.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. We're glad you're with us. Thursday night edition, Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM. The NBA playoffs continuing tonight. Game 3 in Brooklyn between the 76ers and the Nets. Philadelphia up 11. They're looking to go up 3-0 in this series. Little fireworks in this opening moments of this game in the first half. Brooklyn Nets center Nick Claxton knocked Joel Embiid to the ground, proceeded then to try to step over him. Joel Embiid did not appreciate that very much, and he gave him kind of a knee thrust to the region area, if you know what I mean. And tempers flared a little bit. Embiid did not get ejected for that, which is sort of interesting based on what happened to Draymond Green a couple nights ago. But nevertheless, cooler heads prevail, at least for now. Philadelphia up 11 on Brooklyn in Game 3. Later on tonight, speaking of Draymond Green, he is suspended for Game 3 tonight, Sacramento and Golden State. That'll tip off at 10 o'clock Eastern Time in Golden State. And at 10:30, Phoenix and the Clippers. Big news this afternoon, Kawhi Leonard is out of that game for Los Angeles with an injury. They're already without Paul George. So Phoenix, you better win. If the Clippers don't have Kawhi or Paul George, Phoenix needs to win that game tonight. There is no doubt about that. In the NHL playoffs, New Jersey up 1-0 on the Rangers. Rangers do lead that series 1-0, so it's a big game for New Jersey tonight. And Toronto is just absolutely annihilating Tampa. Tampa did go up 1-0 in that series on Tuesday night. It was a must-win for Toronto, and they are acting like it. 6-1 Maple Leafs over the Lightning as they near the end of the second period. As we talked about, 1 week from tonight, the Jaguars do have the 24th pick in round number 1. So I went back into the memory banks. It's what I do to try to provide quality content here on Hacker After Dark on a nightly basis. Went back into the memory banks and came up with some former number 24 overall picks in the NFL draft. Hopefully, whoever the Jaguars draft 1 week from tonight will be added to this list. But here are some guys, notable guys that were taken with the 24th overall selection. Back in 2021, the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted running back Najee Harris out of Alabama with the 24th pick. Back in 2019, the then Oakland Raiders took running back Josh Jacobs with pick 24. In 2018, the Carolina Panthers took a wide receiver at number 24 named DJ Moore. He turned out to be pretty decent. You go back a little farther in the memory banks, 2012. Pittsburgh Steelers drafted David DeCastro on the offensive line. 2011, the New Orleans Saints took Cam Jordan on their D-line. So an O lineman in DeCastro, a D lineman in Jordan. And then I had forgot these two. 2010, the 24th overall pick belonged to the Dallas Cowboys. They took Dez Bryant. 2008, the 24th overall pick belonged to the Tennessee Titans. They took a running back named Chris Johnson. You also had, of course, Aaron Rodgers in 2005, go to the Packers. Steven Jackson in 2004 was the 24th pick to the Rams. Dallas Clark in 2003, the 24th pick to the Colts. Ed Reed in 2002, the 24th pick to the Ravens. How's that for a 4-year stretch for pick 24? Ed Reed, Dallas Clark, Steven Jackson, Aaron Rodgers. That will certainly get the job done. So the point of this is pick 24, there is always talent. You got to find it, but there is good talent, very good talent, Hall of Fame talent that has been drafted with the 24th pick in round number 1. Guy that'll be gone long before pick 24 is Florida Gator quarterback Anthony Richardson. 1 week from tonight, you would anticipate Richardson goes in the top 10, maybe the top 5. He will be the highest drafted Florida Gator in 55, 56 years, going back to the day of Steve Spurrier, right? But if you look at the quarterback, Spurrier, by the way, was the 3rd pick back in 1967, so 56 years ago. But Anthony Richardson is trying to buck history a little bit. Quick, tell me the most successful Florida Gator NFL quarterback. Not many, right? You would probably have to say by default Rex Grossman. Rex Grossman. Because he got the Chicago Bears to a Super Bowl. I shouldn't say he got him there. I think the defense got him there. But he started a Super Bowl at quarterback for the Chicago Bears. But look at this list of Gator quarterbacks that get drafted into the NFL. Kyle Trask, Tim Tebow, Rex Grossman, Jesse Palmer, Danny Warfel, Kerwin Bell, Wayne Peace, John Reeves, Steve Spurrier, and then, of course, who could forget Bobby Lance back in 1956. Not a lot of star power has left Gainesville at the quarterback position and done anything in the National Football League. Will Anthony Richardson change that? There are a lot of people that believe he will. There are a lot of people that believe he won't. And based on conversations I've had, there are not a lot of people in the middle, right? You either believe in Anthony Richardson and you think he's going to be the man, or you think he's a quote-unquote project that needs a year or two on the bench to fine-tune his craft. He is the most polarizing figure in this draft, and it's not even close. And you know what's going to be interesting to me? We know about Anthony Richardson because he played 90 minutes down the road. We know about Anthony Richardson because a lot of you listening to Hacker After Dark right now are diehard, bleed orange and blue Gator fans. But if Anthony Richardson gets drafted to Seattle next week, if Anthony Richardson gets drafted to Detroit next week, to Baltimore next week, I think their fan bases will be stunned. Stunned when they look at his college numbers. Less than 400 pass attempts in a Gator uniform. Started only 13 games at quarterback for the University of Florida. Won only 6 games as a starting quarterback for the University of Florida. That's just rarefied air, man. There are just simply not a lot of guys with this much acclaim coming into any NFL draft that have this little experience playing quarterback. There are a few. I'm not going to say there aren't any, but there aren't a lot of guys that have less experience than Anthony Richardson that have been this polarizing a topic leading up to an NFL draft. We've heard Indianapolis is interested. We've heard Seattle is interested. We've heard Tennessee is interested. He visited Baltimore. I think Detroit is a sleeper in this situation as well. And again, Jaguar fans, Gator fans, the Gator audience that's listening right now. You bleed orange and blue on Saturday, you bleed teal and black on Sunday. If Anthony Richardson ends up in the AFC South, if he ends up with the Indianapolis Colts, or he ends up with the Tennessee Titans, what would you think about that? Would that concern you at all? Or you got Trevor Lawrence here, so no problem whatsoever. Again, next Thursday night, 1 week from tonight, very possible In fact, I would go as far as to say 50-50, probably a 50% shot that Houston, Indianapolis, and Tennessee all draft quarterbacks. I think at absolute minimum, 2 of those 3 in the AFC South draft quarterbacks. It is a changing of the guard in the division. And Jacksonville's sitting pretty because Jacksonville has Trevor Lawrence. Right now, the quarterbacks in the division are Trevor Lawrence, Davis Mills, Ryan Tannehill, and Gardner Minshew. That will change in 7 days. But I wouldn't put too much stock in rookie quarterbacks coming in and doing a whole lot in year 1. You're liable to have a first-year head coach and a rookie quarterback in Houston. Very possible to have a first-year head coach and a rookie quarterback in Indy. And then who knows what Tennessee's going to do with Ryan Tannehill if they decide to trade up into the top 10. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. Here on Hacker After Dark, we are with you till 10 o'clock. As always, we're glad you're with us. We are streaming for your viewing pleasure as well on YouTube and on Twitter. Just go to YouTube, search 1010XL. You'll see Hacker After Dark there till 10 o'clock tonight. Likewise on Twitter, at 1010XL on Twitter. Search that. You'll see the show there until 10 o'clock this evening. With Tony Salazar, who's in for Dylan Denmark tonight. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. Coming up next, speaking of the Florida Gators, speaking about life after Anthony Richardson, Florida wrapped up their spring 1 week ago tonight. Although they are getting hot on the recruiting trail. As dim, as cloudy as the 2023 season appears to be, maybe not. We'll talk about it. There might be light at the end of the tunnel with this 2024 recruiting class Billy Napier is putting together. Let's talk about all that with David Waters. He is the host of the Gators Breakdown podcast, and he is next. Hacker After Dark on a Thursday, and Jacksonville, we're glad you are with us.
I'm Matthew Driscoll, head coach of the UNF Ospreys.
That's the way to hit it.
You're listening to 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Been thinking about natural biologic therapies to treat your chronic joint pain? Meet Tyler Vale, co-founder of QC Kinetics.
To me, it is such an easy decision. If you are truly looking to avoid surgery and not treat yourself with Band-Aids like steroids and pain meds, then really there is no other option, and that's what I love so much about what I get to do.
QC Kinetics offers a variety of restorative natural options to rejuvenate the tissue in your joints and give you your life back.
When they come back a few months later, and it's so affirming to see their quality of life change in such a positive way.
Are you tired of the joint pain that keeps you from living your best life? Call QC Kinetics to learn more about these exciting restorative and regenerative options.
And you've been looking for an answer, something to avoid surgery. I'm just giving you the answer you've been looking for. QC Kinetics. Kinetics is energy in motion. We want to keep you in motion.
Get your free consultation today with QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522. 904-274-5522.
Years ago, when Harrell and Harrell was growing, we had a decision to make whether we were going to grow into the state or even beyond. And we decided that we were going to stay here in this community in Northeast Florida. That it's staying here and not looking at where's the next place that we can go or how can we get bigger, because bigger is not necessarily better. This is our home, this is where our families are, this is where our friends are, and this is where we're going to stay.
Offices, Jacksonville.
When you get nachos, tacos, empanadas, spicy queso with jalapenos, Pepto-Bismol's there. Pepto-Bismol provides fast, effective relief from nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, and diarrhea. All the things that can happen unexpectedly on vacation. So before you travel, pack the Pepto. Pepto-Bismol.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Servicing every customer like they're famous. But what does that mean for you? It comes down to the famous philosophy. You'll find a consistency at all 20 locations in friendly service, honest pricing, and realistic time expectations. They know when you find someone you trust to maintain your vehicle, keep it running right, and lasting longer, you'll stick with them. And that's the famous philosophy. at Famous Automotive in Quick Lube. Ask about a fleet account for your business.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Monahan Jewelers is your local family jeweler for 44 years with a huge selection of GIA certified diamonds, gold, fine gemstone and diamond jewelry, and designer brands from all over the world. With our interest-free financing, we make it easy to acquire the perfect gift. Monahan Jewelers also specializes in custom jewelry design with thousands of customers all across Jacksonville. Come experience our beautiful selection of fine jewelry at your local family jeweler, Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Okay, for this Cannons of Jacksonville commercial, we need an idea to really come out with a bang.
Like having a guy shot out of a cannon.
Nah, too messy. In fact, Cannons is known for all your towing needs.
So like my car won't start.
No. Towing products. Cannons does custom welding fabrication and installation of trailer hitches, goosenecks, tow bars, truck racks.
So you might say Cannons is my best shot at finding that inventory in stock?
Boom. You said it.
Visit cannonsofjacks.com.
Are your kids ready to play this summer? Come check out the Y. Summer is a time for kids to explore new things and expand the limits of their imagination. At the Y Summer Camp, every day is a new adventure. Kids can learn about STEM, arts and humanities, athletic sports, outdoor games, and more. Registration is now open, but space is limited, and spots are filling up quickly. Learn more and find your adventure at fcymca.org. Search Summer Day Camp.
Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying. They can also signal a major problem or electrical emergency. So leave it to the pros and Mr. Sparky.
888 Sparky. Your on-time electrician, Mr. Sparky of the First Coast.
David here with Royal Pest Services. That grass is waking up from its winter nap. Royal is close to applying products that help bring it out of that dormancy. Our granular aeration allows treatment to get to the root system. Visit RoyalPestServices.com to schedule a free estimate. It's grow time!
Beaches Jewelry and Pawn is ready to help. If you need extra cash or a quick loan, Beaches Jewelry and Pawn has cash in hand. They also love to buy items of value. They need gold, silver coins, and flatware, jewelry, guitars, and of course, guns.
Serving the First Coast for over 20 years, Instant Keys offers honest, professional locksmith service for the replacement of lost, stolen, or broken keys and remotes. Get dealer-level service at a fraction of the time and cost. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
Home of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach. This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Hacker. After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The Orange and Blue game wrapped up late last week, ending season number 2 of spring football for Billy Napier and his staff. The Gators will have a little time off now, and then summer conditioning will start right up as they get ready for fall camp. David Waters of the Gators Breakdown podcast was at the Orange and Blue game last week. He follows it as close as anybody, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. David, how you doing, man?
Doing good, Hacker. Spring practice. This is the only time we get to hear from the Gator coaching staff besides Billy Napier, so it's a busy time. But finally get to take a breath a little bit after that Orange and Blue game on Thursday night.
They're getting hot on the recruiting trail, David. I want to talk about that a little bit with you as well. Before we get there, obviously the big question coming into spring was Graham Mertz and Jack Miller at the quarterback spot. Based on people you've talked to, what you saw last Thursday, what are your takeaways about the quarterback position right now in Gainesville?
Yeah, Hacker, I think most of it, even behind the scenes before Thursday night spring game was maybe more eyes of the beholder. You could talk to people who maybe were able to stay at practice maybe longer than the media were able to, or had some insight there. And most of the time, it was depending on who you talk to, maybe who has the lead in the quarterback competition there at Florida between Graham Mertz and Jack Miller. But more times than not, I heard Graham Mertz, and I do think it maybe probably played out for the most part that way in the spring game as well. It was really, really hard to get a full gauge on the quarterbacks with a beat-up offensive line. Couldn't get into a rhythm, bad snaps left and right, going there. And as I said, kind of splitting the teams up the way they did. Florida wasn't going to have their starting 5 offensive linemen out there anyway, so even further down the depth chart, especially if you were playing with that second-team offensive line. So really hard to get a gauge. And, of course, if you want to believe what they were saying after the game, a vanilla playbook there for the offense as well, going against Austin Armstrong wasn't vanilla. He was bringing out the pressure and those simulated pressures and really disguising his pressure pretty well. So it did look like the defense had a leg up there on the offense, but really hard to get gauge on from Thursday night, what we could take away from the quarterback spot. But if you take spring practice as a whole, I do think it is maybe Graham Mertz with a slight margin to lead the Gators into this fall when they get that first game versus Utah.
You mentioned Austin Armstrong. He looks like a pretty animated guy on the sidelines, to say the least. We'll get to him in a moment. He might have done some things on camera that Billy Napier will talk to him about moving forward. Before we get there, Graham Mertz, Jack Miller, the quarterback position. Billy Napier made it very clear, David, that Florida intends to add somebody to that quarterback room. All sorts of rumors that you hear about this 5-star here or that 5-star there that may not be happy in their current situation entering the portal. Florida, do you believe in the next month will get a name out of the portal that the average college football fan may already know?
Hacker, it's very interesting because I think you have to go and, I know the rumors there when Austin Simmons, the 2025 quarterback, commit for the Gators. He committed to the Gators a couple of weeks ago. There was that talk of him maybe reclassifying, jumping up 2 classes all the way from 2025 to 2023, this class that Florida just brought in. And that's still out there, that the possibility of him jumping 2 classes could still happen. And would that be the 4th quarterback that Billy Napier is talking about? He's kind of crafted his words where he'll be asked about the transfer portal, but he'll say, we intend to go after a 4th quarterback. So I still think that is in play as well. But I don't think that also shuts the door on a transfer quarterback, because I don't think we know exactly each and every quarterback out there that's going to hit this transfer portal. And there may be some unexpected name that loses out on a high-profile battle at Texas or, some other. It can't be an SEC school because those guys would have to sit out a year. That would do nothing for Florida this year. So I think you'd have to look outside of the SEC footprint and then see what quarterbacks are available for Florida to bring in. So, maybe Austin Simmons reclassifying and a transfer portal quarterback, but Hacker, absolutely. I do think, Florida will bring in a 4th body, whether it's for depth and not necessarily to compete with Jack Miller and Graham Mertz, or they do get some unexpected name out there that could come in and battle those guys right away when fall camp starts.
David Waters is the host of the Gators Breakdown podcast, and he's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. David, quickly, for people that are wondering, scratching their head about that, I'm kind of doing the same thing. I've read a little bit about it. How could Simmons from Pahokee reclassify 2 classes? Right now he's 2025 with a chance he could be in 2023. How is that even possible?
So Hacker, he's homeschooled. He has all of the necessary high school credits there, 5.34 GPA there, as he's also already taken some college classes as well online. So that would be the reason he could do that. Already has his high school credentials and taking college courses at the same time. So there still may be some things to work on there, but that it is possible just because of that situation there of him being homeschooled and having the credits already. But Hacker, the biggest question for me is on the field. What do you miss? I know he's been playing since he's been in 8th grade and all that, but it's still as you're as you're going through your teenage years, what would he miss by not playing his junior year with 10 other guys on the field surrounding him, in his senior season with 10 other guys surrounding him, being that leader, being that quarterback out there on the field for your junior and senior season. Now, we've seen guys reclassify 1 season, so missing 1 year may not hurt, but, these 2 seasons you would miss of being a quarterback, being a leader, leading a team out there as important as that quarterback position is? What would you be missing in that regard is, what I'd be kind of looking at. So if you look out on the outside, it does seem like, mentally he'd be ready, but all the physical and then maybe missing those leadership qualities is where I'd be looking at. Why would you be making that jump for 2 years?
David, what about the young wide receivers? A lot of talk about them. Now, they're not all on campus yet. Only a few, or I guess a majority of them are, actually. There's a couple that aren't that'll come in the summer. But the ones that were there, the ones that participated in the spring, did any of the young heralded wide receiver group really stand out to you?
Yeah, and asking around, I do think, we saw Andy Jean make a few, flash plays in the spring game. Aiden Mizell, his speed was absolutely on display. Not necessarily stat-wise, but you can see the speed out there. They're trying to get him involved early on with a deep pass early. I believe, Jack Miller's first pass of the game was they were trying to set up a deep pass down to him. Did hear some good things about the way those guys were progressing in a wide receiver room that's really open for Florida. And good to see Marcus Burt from Jacksonville, catch a touchdown and then make the highlight play of catching a pass against a defender draped all over him and catching it behind his that defender's back. So a good thing we see the local guy Marcus Burke doing that. But yeah, Eugene Wilson, another true freshman, he'll come in the summer and kind of that twitchy, fast twitch receiver that Florida, besides Ricky Pearsall, doesn't necessarily have. I think Andy Jean can also fit that role just a little bit, but I do think that fast, quick twitch wide receiver, Florida doesn't have a lot of those guys. So Eugene Wilson may be able to come in, fall, work his way into there, because there's not going to be a lot of competition for that type of wide receiver Florida has. Florida has a lot of big body, maybe more your possession type, maybe you go up and get them type of receivers, but not the smaller, quick twitch guys. So I do think Eugene Wilson, if he's ready to go, just because of the type of receiver he is, maybe the guy who ends up, even though he didn't take place in spring practice, may be able to find his way on the field a little bit quicker, because there's not many of those receivers of his type that Florida has.
A couple of more for David Waters. He is the host of the Gators Breakdown podcast. David, as we switch sides of the ball, let's go back to the new defensive coordinator, Austin Armstrong. I like him. I think Gator fans are going to like him an awful lot. He just needs to know this isn't Southern Miss anymore, right? I mean, there are TV cameras everywhere, and I appreciate the passion, but there are some things you probably don't want to do on camera that I'm sure Billy Napier will talk to him about. Aside from that, what was your takeaway from the defense last week?
Yeah, Hacker, he didn't need to wear orange on Thursday night because he was bright enough. I mean, you really could tell. I tweeted it out, during the game. It was the first quarter. I was like, yeah, that's a fiery guy on that sideline. And we've seen all kind of highlights throughout spring practice of kind of just the energetic, bouncing off the walls, personality that he is. And we saw that on full display. And look, I think that really helps this defense too. You had a new defensive coordinator last year in Patrick Toney, but more of that laid back approach. I do think maybe the defense kind of took that approach as well. Well, now they're taking this new approach of Austin Armstrong of being hyped, getting ready, bouncing off the walls. And I think the way, that's one thing positive you can take away from that spring practice. As bad as the defense has been the last couple of years, on Thursday night in that spring game, those guys were bouncing around. You didn't know where the pressure was coming from. It might just be 4 guys, but the offensive line didn't know which 4 it was going to be. So really good job in disguising those. And I really think, Florida's pretty deep up front, deeper than they have been in quite some time, by hitting the transfer portal and then the development of a guy like Desmond Watson and Chris McClellan. I do think Florida's a little deeper up front. May not have the superstar of a Gervon Dexter, but they could be a bit deeper. So I think starting up front, that aggression really, really paid off. It's something that I really do think will pay off when the season gets underway for the Gators. But it is, I think the defense would have been better anyway, Hacker, just because of the transition from year 1 to year 2. But we might can enhance that just a bit with Austin Armstrong being defensive coordinator.
David, who's replacing Ventrell Miller? Who's going to be the leader of that defense this year?
We didn't get to see a whole lot of him in the spring. Taraja Mitchell was beat up, and he kind of seems to be that vocal leader that they really want to point to, but we didn't get to see it in fall. So that, to me, opened up the door for a young guy like Shamar James to be in that. And you don't want to have to rely on a true sophomore to be that leader, but all intents and for everything that was out there and getting that opportunity to lead with Miller being gone, Mitchell being injured a bit in the spring, I do think this Florida defense may have to rely on a young guy to be that vocal leader. And Shamar James, I mean, you can talk to him in person, and he's a very engaging personality. So I do think that can transfer to the field as well. Shamar James is that guy I look for to be that leader in the middle, along with Taraja Mitchell. And I do think it may not be just one guy. Florida may be able to split it just a bit as well. But Shamar James, plenty of experience in this defense last year as a true freshman, and all SEC freshman at the linebacker spot. So even he might be young, Hacker, but I do think that they will be pointing at him to kind of lead this defense there. But even maybe deeper at linebacker a bit with those transfers. And Scooby Williams, we wondered if he'd be maybe shifting back towards edge, but he really came on this spring as well at the linebacker spot. So, Shamar James, Scooby Williams got most of the snaps at linebacker, starting linebacker this spring. And I do think gives Florida a little bit more depth at the linebacker spot as well.
David Waters of the Gators Breakdown Podcast. David, final thought here. They're getting hot on the recruiting trail again, not only in 2024, but in 2025. But the recruits and the commitments have just been pouring in over the last couple of weeks. They got a big one, in fact, last Thursday with one of the best safeties in the country from Texas, Xavier Filsaime, going to Florida, choosing them over a handful of teams, including Georgia, including Texas A&M. So I know you follow it as closely as anybody. Florida, that looks like the arrow is pointing up on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, Hacker, absolutely. Xavier Filsaime was a big pickup there. When the recruiting class changed from 23 to 24, and it was time to turn the page for the class. I look forward to who are some of these targets, and he was one of them. I was like, okay, Georgia's in the mix. Okay, it's going to be hard to beat Georgia for Xavier Filsaime. And he comes on campus there for Florida, and Florida started knocking it out of the park. He comes on campus and starts falling in love with Florida right away. And Florida really started trending that one the other way. It did look like it was Georgia leaning on early on, but Xavier Filsaime ends up a Gator Thursday night committing at halftime of the Orange and Blue game. So it does add, the fourth player in about the top 40. If you look at the 24/7 Sports composite that Florida is now bringing in, and you're right, Hacker, it does look like this class off to a good start, much better start than they were off last year. You're usually looking for that second class, that bump class, to be the class that makes the huge transition. Well, for Billy Napier, it might be this third class. It might be his third class where he nails his quarterback, and he nails some defensive guys at the linebacker spot with Miles Graham and Darius Hayes. So a great start. It's got the country buzzing at least about Florida, maybe not on the field, but off the field a bit, to maybe lend Billy Napier some patience as he's built this thing from the ground up.
David, leave us with this. We got about 60 seconds. We'll obviously talk before the opener on Labor Day weekend, but do you feel any different about the team now than you did a month ago, now that spring ball has concluded, about their prospects going into 2023?
Heck, I probably feel a little better about the defense. Offense, still inconclusive for me. I don't think they definitely did not answer any questions Thursday night. And from everything I could gather through spring practice on the offensive side of the ball, through spring practice, I don't think we got any answers there. Maybe feeling a bit better about this defense, and we'll maybe have to see what that translates into for as far as maybe more wins for Florida. But Hacker, we all know, the quarterback battle, the leader and winner of that's going to have to equate to some wins for Florida. Even with a better defense and a strong run game, you're probably looking at 6-7 wins. It's going to be that quarterback position that gets them to 8, 9, maybe possibly more than that. But at the base right now, I think you start at 6, and we'll see what Florida does at the quarterback spot to maybe elevate them even more in the 2023 season.
David Waters is the host of the Gators Breakdown Podcast. He does a terrific job with that, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. David, appreciate the time, my friend. We'll talk later this summer.
Hacker, thank you much.
Jump on Gators baseball here, 1010XL.
It's a battle of top 10 teams. Number 3, Florida, and number 6, South Carolina. Gators Gamecocks in Columbia. Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday afternoon on 1010 a.m.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Did you hear what's happening? Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet are spring cleaning. New inventory on the ground means the old has to go. Take advantage of the lowest prices of the new year by saving thousands on thousands of vehicles priced to sell. New and pre-owned prices have been reduced, and all sales associates have been instructed to give maximum value on all trades. But you better hurry. That's right. Best deals go first. Head to Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville to take advantage of the spring cleaning sale. We're here to wow you.
This draft preview is brought to you by Big Brothers Big Sisters of Northeast Florida and Safe Harbor Seafood. Pass rushers typically burst off the board before pick number 24 when they're as versatile as Georgia's Nolan Smith. He can drop into coverage, play the run, and fly off the edge. He didn't have big sack numbers at Georgia and could use a little more muscle, but Nolan Smith would fit Jacksonville's culture and comes from a program Trent Baalke clearly respects.
Some people don't do well under pressure. At Northern Tool and Equipment, we do it best. Whether you're spraying down the shop or getting the winter grime off your house, a Northern Tool pressure washer says you're serious about spring cleaning. From an all-electric power horse to a Honda-powered North Star, we'll help you build your perfect cold or hot water package with all the chemicals, attachments, and everything you need for the job ahead. Northern Tool and Equipment. We're made for this. Come see us in store or shop online at northerntool.com.
Slacker plumbing.
Yeah, hey, listen, I need a plumber over here right now.
Yeah, well, we don't have any openings for about 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yep.
I was just changing the shower head and the water line broke and it's flying everywhere.
All right, 1 week.
What if I throw you an extra $100 to come now?
What's the address?
It's 205.
Huh? I guess he changed his mind.
If you've got a leak that can't wait a week, call Roland Reich Plumbing and fix your plumbing problems fast. PlumbingJacksonville.com.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On April 20th, 1912, after several rainouts and devastating news of the Titanic, Fenway Park officially opens. The Red Sox beat the New York Islanders 7-6 in 11 innings.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, it's Prosser here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money and pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement project. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. So even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness. Say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Or as always, you can visit loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Join the U.S. Army as they sponsor the second annual Go Ruck event at Met Park, April 21st through 23rd. Enjoy a massive 3-day fitness and music festival with an ice-cold beer. Competitors compete for a spot on the leaderboard with competitions including the obstacle course, a scavenger hunt, boot camp, sandbag and rucksack training, urban obstacle course, and more. Sandlot Jacks, promoting physical and mental health through social fitness. It's a 3-day massive event to highlight fitness and music.
Men suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, regardless of age or past medical history, you'll see instant results on your first visit at Prime Men's Medical Center. And for unlimited time, your consultation and first treatment are totally free. Call now, 904-664-8217.
Any adventure, any task, anytime. There's a CF Moto Utility ATV or UTV for any rider. See the full lineup at Ride Now Beach Boulevard. Venture seekers can start with the trail-tested capability and comfort of the C-Force lineup. For the ultimate in UTV performance, check out the Z-Force 950. Find your utility ATV at Ride Now Beach Boulevard or online at cfmotousa.com. ATVs are recommended for the use only by riders age 16 years and older. ATVs can be hazardous to operate. CF Moto recommends approved training course for safety and training information.
From Cuba to Nicaragua, the journey of master blender Rene Lorenzo has created some masterpieces. HVC Cigars boast a superb blend of the best Nicaraguan tobaccos in smooth and flavorful handcrafted cigars. Come out and taste these masterful blends at Tobacco Cove this Saturday from 1 to 4 to experience a Nicaraguan perfection. Kick back and relax in our comfortable lounge with food, prizes, and great deals on HVC Cigars. Tobacco Cove at Bay Meadows in San Jose this Saturday from 1 to 4 for a taste of Nicaragua.
If you like live music, fun activities, and sipping your favorite drink at a tiki bar, you don't have to travel far or break the bank to make it happen. Island Oaks RV Resort is just past McClenny off of exit 333, offering all of this. Visit islandoaksrvresort.com to book your stay.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Deterrents. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Things have gotten interesting in the NBA playoffs. They're going to the fourth quarter. Brooklyn has taken a 6-point lead on Philadelphia in Game 3, trying to make that a series. But the interesting thing, Joel Embiid left the game limping a little bit after injuring his leg. He's on the bench right now. I don't know if he's going to come back. If he does come back, James Harden will not be there because James Harden just got ejected for the Philadelphia 76ers. He was essentially working on a guy. He had the ball, used his arm, and a little bit of the big elbow smash, quite frankly, into the solar plexus, as Gordon Soley would say back in the day on Florida Championship Wrestling. And the ref threw him out of the game. I was stunned. I mean, we saw Draymond Green get ejected a couple nights ago. What Draymond did to me was far more egregious than what James Harden just did. But James Harden ejected moments ago in Game 3 of Philadelphia and Brooklyn. And now with Harden gone and Embiid injured, Brooklyn's got a great opportunity to win a game in that series and make it 2-1 going into Game 4 over the weekend. So certainly keep you updated on that. Sacramento Golden State tips off in about half an hour. Golden State desperately needs to win that. They're trailing 2-0 in that series. At 10:30 tonight, Phoenix and the Clippers. Again, the Clippers without Paul George and now without Kawhi Leonard, who's out with an injury tonight as well. Coming up next, we'll continue the draft talk. Again, we are 1 week away from the NFL draft next Thursday night out in Kansas City. Shane Hallam, draftcountdown.com. He's another one of our guys. We're going to switch it up a little bit, though. We're going to talk Jaguars. We're going to talk AFC South. But I want to talk about the top of the draft. I want to talk Bryce Young. I want to talk C.J. Stroud. I want to talk Carolina. What's going to happen at the top 5 that'll have the domino effect for later on in round number 1. Shane Hallam, draftcountdown.com next on a Thursday night edition of Hacker After Dark with Tony Salazar, who's in for Dylan Denmark tonight. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
1010XL.
Have your boarding passes ready.
Jacksonville Sports Radio Mothership.
That's one small step for man.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship-trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Care you can see.
Why live with foot or ankle pain? If you have persistent pain, numbness, tingling, burning pain on the bottom of your foot, or swelling that doesn't improve with home treatment, it may be time to see Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute. Our foot and ankle specialists have innovative new options to help you get back in the swing of things without persistent pain that slows you down. Call JOI 2000 or go to joionline.net for an appointment.
Northeast Florida Safety Council has been keeping Florida safe for 80 years. I'm Dominic Whitley, Environmental Health and Safety Director. What kind of safety culture have you developed at your business? Safety is a saver of lives, limb, and the bottom line. A great safety culture protects your most important investments, your employees and your business, and results in great success. Let us help you develop a successful safety culture. Visit us at nefsc.org and become an elite member today. Again, that is nefsc.org.
It's that time of year, beach and biking and NFL draft season. Head on down to Sliders Oyster Bar in Neptune Beach, where you'll find the absolute freshest seafood in all of Duval. The biggest shrimp, the saltiest oysters, the freshest fish, all here at our newly renovated restaurant in Neptune Beach. The draft is coming up, so pull up a chair to the bar, get a dozen, and let's see who our Jags add to the roster. Our roster is already full with the freshest Sliders Oyster Bar in Neptune Beach, locally owned by Safe Harbor Seafood.
There are still tickets available for the May 2nd Florida State baseball game at 1-to-1 Financial Ballpark. For your chance to win tickets, text baseball to the 1010XL text line covered by Lifetime Flooring at 641-1010.
Hi, Kevin here with Armor Guard Exteriors and Gutter Helmet. It's time to start your springtime projects. Don't wait. Our suppliers are ready to deliver gutters, gutter protection, retractable screens and awnings, window replacements, and glass on ice. So let's get started on your home improvement projects now and receive 18 months, 0 interest, and no money down. Call 904-906-8669.
Big Brothers Big Sisters is teaming up with the NFL to inspire change. From now to draft day, Big Brothers Big Sisters is following the NFL draft, aiming to recruit potential bigs. Hi, I'm Brent from the 1010 sales team. I'm committed as a mentor, and we need you to step up and become a mentor too. There's a waiting list of more than 50 children hoping for a mentor. It's just a few hours a month. Be a mentor, become a big. Visit bbsnefl.org. Be a mentor or visit Big Brothers Big Sisters and click on Big Draft.
I'm Dr. Mitchell Yass, the most unknown world-renowned expert on pain elimination. That's right, elimination. If you've tried medications, injections, physical therapy, chiropractic, even surgery, and still experience pain, then say yes to Yass. I have successfully used the Yass method for over 30 years to help thousands reclaim their lives. To learn more, call me at 904-906-YASS. Let's end your pain and say yes to Yass.
The IRS has just received $80 billion in funding to hire additional agents for aggressive collections enforcement. If you owe the IRS, now is the time to take action before the IRS comes after you or your business. There's no time to waste. Call J. David Tax Law, a firm right here in Jacksonville, for a no-cost consultation at 904-507-4777. That's 904-507-4777. Or visit jdavidtaxlaw.com. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away.
Denny Thompson here. Tyson Sound and Security is hiring salespeople right now. If you want to sell new tech security cameras or home automation, Tyson Sound and Security is looking for you. Tyson Sound and Security is hiring for sales positions, and they will train you to be successful. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. That's 762-1000. Hiring for sales positions right now. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. Equal opportunity employer.
Does your home or building need painting? For over 20 years, Performance Painting has had the privilege of preserving many of Jacksonville's most prominent buildings. That said, we feel like we're just getting started. I'm Jason Parker, and our team thrives on preparing, protecting, and preserving the homes, businesses, and public buildings that make up our local landscape. Contact us today to put our years of experience to work for you. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting. This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now, hello. Another great guest on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The NFL Draft, of course, it will be Thursday, April the 27th. The Jacksonville Jaguars hold the 24th pick in round number 1. Let's talk Jaguars, let's talk quarterbacks, and let's talk draft in general with Shane Hallam, draftcountdown.com. He's one of our go-to guys here on 1010XL. Shane, how we doing, man?
I'm doing great. We're getting closer. I can't wait for the draft to be here.
Shane, a guy like you that does this every day, 365 days a year, when we're 2.5 weeks out, I mean, what are your thoughts? Because guys like me have been looking at this draft class for a couple of months. Guys like you have been looking at this draft class for almost a year now. Is it like we're on the doorstep of all the work that you've put in there at draftcountdown.com?
It just feels like the culmination is happening. We're kind of in this waiting period where I feel like, everything's kind of done. I'm waiting to just get on that, go through that door, open that gift, and see it happen. So it is nice to start to see these pieces really have fallen, and we're just ready to see where everything ends up.
All right, so the Jaguars, or any of the other 31 teams in the National Football League, Shane, if the draft were tonight, if the NFL said, you know what, we're not waiting any longer, let's do it right now. Are teams ready? I mean, there's 2.5 weeks to go, but if they needed to draft tonight, are they ready to go?
I think they generally are ready to go. At this point, you're kind of finishing up a couple more of the top 30 visits, getting guys in, doing a little of those full evaluations. So that can change things a little bit. But I think for the most part, these last 2.5 weeks are about stacking your board. All these teams have put in the work. They have the reports. They have opinions. And now they're going to kind of stack the board up of the players that they like, the both vertical and horizontal board to see what positions are deeper. That's kind of what this is about. And that's something I think that could happen fairly quickly for most teams. So you wouldn't need 2.5 weeks to do it, but they take their time. And I think everyone knows how that feels, right? When you're looking at the same thing for weeks and weeks and you're making these little changes and maybe you're making too many changes, I think that can happen sometimes too. So I think most teams would be ready to go. Give them a day or two, and they could draft right now.
Shane Hallam, draftcountdown.com, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, Shane, at the top of the draft, Carolina owns the number 1 pick. They gave up a lot to get it in that trade with Chicago, but it is theirs. Most mock drafts that you see, not all, but most, seem to be leaning C.J. Stroud to the Carolina Panthers. Are you in line with that way of thinking?
I am in line with that way of thinking. I think that C.J. Stroud, who's been my top quarterback in this draft since July, in August when we relaunched, I think that's what Carolina's going to fall into. They're going to take the best passing quarterback, and that's where they're going to go. Now, Bryce Young, the quarterback out of Alabama, has gained some steam for that number 1 pick, mostly because of a Chris Mortensen report that was kind of taken out of context about Carolina being settled on him, but they were doing a mock draft on the show. So I think Carolina's still going to do their due diligence on these top quarterbacks. They're continuing to do it. I think Stroud's the guy. I think he fits the offense the best, and it's probably who they feel most comfortable with.
All right, if Stroud is number 1, and again, that's genuinely the way things look to be going right now, that brings us to Houston, who we in Jacksonville are taking a look at, obviously being in the AFC South, and almost across the board. If Stroud goes 1, then the Texans are taking Bryce Young. Do you agree with that?
I think if Stroud goes 1, that's what happens at 2. The Texans are going to run the kind of Kyle Shanahan offense there and bringing in all the 49ers coaches. Bryce Young fits that perfectly. You have a guy that can move around in the pocket, that's accurate, doesn't need necessarily the deep passes all the time. I think Bryce Young really fits what they want. I think the question would be, if Bryce Young goes 1, do the Texans want Stroud at 2? I don't know if he's as good a fit for the Texans as he is for the Panthers, and that's where I think some things could go off the rails. But if Bryce Young's there too, I think the Texans run the car to the podium.
And with that line of thinking, Bryce Young in the NFL, again, Texans in a rebuild, but we're certainly taking notice of what they're doing here in Jacksonville. It sounds to me like you would like that fit, Bryce Young in Houston.
I would, and I know it's maybe not good news for Jaguars fans, but I actually think the Texans' offense could be pretty good this year. I know on paper, you look at the receivers, they don't have much. I expect they're going to draft 1 or 2, but they have a good offensive line, but they have a good second-year running back in Dameon Pierce. And once again, they're running the 49ers system where you don't need a top-tier quarterback to be ready to go. We saw Brock Purdy, we saw Jimmy Garoppolo have success. I think Bryce Young's one of the best quarterbacks we've seen run that system in some time. I think the Texans could actually have pretty good offense if they draft Bryce Young.
Shane Hallam, draftcountdown.com. All right, Shane, that gets us to number 3, and that's Arizona. And I think at this point it might be a surprise if Arizona picks at number 3. We see a lot of situations where the Raiders trade up, the Titans trade up, even the Colts jump up 1 spot from number 4 to number 3. What do you think Arizona's thinking, and are they holding that pick for ransom at this point to the highest bidder?
I think they're definitely exploring those opportunities. It wouldn't surprise me if a lot of teams are asking about 3, but aren't willing to give up a ton of compensation to go up there. We'll talk about the quarterbacks, the rest of these quarterbacks in a bit, but I don't know if 3 is as coveted as, say, number 1 was for Carolina to move up and be able to get their choice. So Arizona could move down. I think it's probably a 50-50 chance at this point. But if they stick, they're likely going defense. I think Will Anderson, the edge rusher out of Alabama, or Tyree Wilson, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech. Wilson might be a better fit for the defense. Anderson's probably the better player. So that's what they're going to really have to determine.
Another team in the AFC South at number 4, and that's the Indianapolis Colts. And that's where things could get interesting. The thought was maybe they were in the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes, and now all of a sudden the Ravens spend $1 bazillion to bring in Odell Beckham for 1 year. And I can't imagine they would spend that much money on Odell Beckham without some firm understanding that Lamar Jackson was going to be in the future plans. We'll see what happens there. But assuming Lamar Jackson is out of the equation for Indianapolis, that would leave them in our scenario with either Anthony Richardson or Will Levis. What do you think the Colts would do at number 4?
I think Anthony Richardson would be the pick at number 4 if it falls this way. If no one moves up ahead of them and takes him, it's just such a fit for their draft philosophy and Chris Ballard's draft philosophy. Last year, every single player they drafted, every single round, was 96th percentile athletically or better in their testing pre-draft. And we know Anthony Richardson was 100% the best quarterback ever to work out for the NFL draft. I think it really fits what the Colts want. And then the owner has really been kind of pushing getting a young quarterback. They've gone years now doing Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz. It's time to try it. I think at 4 they take a QB here.
And look, same question. Bryce Young to Houston in the AFC South. If Anthony Richardson were to go to Indianapolis in the AFC South, we're certainly taking notice of that. Not only Anthony's local ties to Florida, but the Jaguars would have to deal with him twice a year. And you and I have talked about this, Shane. There's not a lot of gray area, man. Some people love Anthony Richardson's pro prospects. Some people think he's that, quote, project that needs a year or two. Where do you fall on Anthony Richardson?
I have him a little bit lower. I think I would take a shot on him late round 1, early round 2, where you have a little bit more of flexibility to maybe sit him for a year. I think if you're taking Anthony Richardson at 4, it becomes very tough to sit him behind Gardner Minshew for 10 games, right? Like, it's going to be difficult to do. People are going to want to see the top 5 quarterback that you drafted. So I definitely see the upside. I think you could throw on even his worst games. You can find some really good things to like, but he does need that quarterback coaching ultimately. And I like the Shane Steichen offense for him, like we saw Jalen Hurts run last year, where you're not going to ask Anthony Richardson to do everything and create this offense by himself. It's about getting guys open, letting him throw the ball, and having those receivers and running backs to kind of work with him. So I think he's a project. I'm not comfortable saying Anthony Richardson's going to be a star in the NFL, but I think he needs the right development, the right coaching staff, and the Colts could be that.
Couple of more for Shane Hallam, draftcountdown.com. Shane, where are you with Will Levis out of Kentucky? Because, again, he's all over the board. Some people love him. I had a guy on last week that said he would have Stroud, Young, Richardson, then 16 other quarterbacks, and then Will Levis. So, clearly, the thoughts on him differ.
I definitely am not quite that low on Will Levis, but he's very clearly my quarterback 4 in this class. I think he's a step down from the top 3. I don't have him so far behind Anthony Richardson, but I think Levis, he just doesn't have the same upside that Richardson does, but still has a lot of the same problems. The accuracy, the reading of the defense, how he goes through his progressions really went backwards this year. And for an older prospect, that's not great to me. I think that's the difference there, too, is Will Levis is going to be 24 years old. You want to make sure that he's ready to go. So I think he falls a bit in this draft. I think he falls out of the top 10. I think we see him go somewhere from 11 to like 20-ish, and that's ultimately where he falls.
Shane, I want to get to the Jaguars. Before we do that, though, quickly on Hendon Hooker. Why is he rising so much? I like him as a player, but at the end of the day, he's 25 years old coming off an ACL, yet he is the quarterback that we're talking a lot more about now than we were a month or two ago.
It happens every draft. It happens every draft where the day 2 quarterback, we start to prop up into round one because so many teams just need a quarterback, so they're going to take him, right? That just becomes the thought process and philosophy. Could he go in the first round? I think he could. I think had he not had the ACL injury, finished out the season as strong as he started, Hendon Hooker probably would have been a late first-round pick. But you toss in the injury, you toss in the age. I think it's tough for a team that has needs. Like I've seen him mock to the Minnesota Vikings at 23. They have so many needs on a team that made the playoffs. Why are they going to take a quarterback that's going to sit behind Kirk Cousins for 2 years and be 27 years old? I just don't see that happening. I think round two, absolutely. I think that's where Hendon Hooker goes. But we saw this last year. Malik Willis was mocked in the first round, right? How much? And he fell. We've seen it time and time again. I think Hendon Hooker's a good day two quarterback.
Final moments, Shane Hallam, draftcountdown.com. That brings us to the hometown Jacksonville Jaguars. Normally, Shane, in the past, it's a lot easier, right, when you're picking number one to pinpoint what Jacksonville is going to do. We don't have that luxury now at 24. Let me throw two local guys at you, and then I'll ask you broad picture. Number one, is there any chance that Nolan Smith gets to the Jaguars at 24?
I never say never in the NFL draft, but I would be pretty surprised if he falls all the way to 24. I mean, I've heard rumblings as high as 8 for him at the Atlanta Falcons. So that kind of tells me he's probably going to go top 20. Worst case scenario would be a really nice fit for Jacksonville if he makes it that far. But I'm doubtful that he's going to make it down that way.
What about potentially the best interior offensive lineman in the draft, O'Cyrus Torrence of the University of Florida?
I think that one's realistic. I think O'Cyrus Torrence is probably going to be in that 20 to 40 range. He could be kind of late round one, round two. I think most teams have a round two grade on him, but most teams only have about 15 first-round grades. So when you're looking at 24 Jacksonville, you're probably going to get a round two graded player. I think O'Cyrus Torrence could be available. I think he could be a nice fit, one of the best run blockers at any position in this draft. He's killed the offseason process. I mean, the Senior Bowl was great. He worked out pretty well for his size. I think it could be a really good fit, and I have him in the first round. I think teams are going to like the interior lineman more than people think.
And, Shane, when you look at a mile-high view of the Jaguars, right, they lose Jawan Taylor. They have Walker Little, and they brought in a veteran in Josh Wells, but clearly offensive tackle appears to be a position of need. I think cornerback appears to be a position of need because after Tyson Campbell and Darius Williams, they have issues there potentially. And then, somewhere on the defensive line to affect an opposing quarterback. So with all that being said, when you look at the Jaguars at 24 and even in the second round at, I believe, pick 56, how would you go about it if you were Trent Baalke?
If it was me, I would kind of take those positions and see what value falls to me. I think when you're looking at 24, you're going to have that kind of defensive front. It's a strong group, and not everyone's going to go as high as they should. I think there's going to be some talent there. Someone that I've been toying with them to take with that first-round pick is Keon White, the defensive end, defensive tackle, 285 pounds. Very versatile, kind of a versatile front seven guy that can almost fill two holes instead of one. That might be a position that you look for. I've seen Kalijah Cansey, the defensive lineman from Pittsburgh there. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then I think when you get to round two, then if you take that defensive front seven player, now you can look at the offensive line. You can look at corner and see who is available at 56. I think it just depends on what the value is that position. It's a deep corner class, so I kind of like going that way in round two. I think some of these corners could fall out of the first round because teams are going to wait to day two, and that could line up Jacksonville for a really nice corner at 56.
Shane Hallam, draftcountdown.com. Shane, I know you've been super busy on the website. I think you're the first guy that started putting out 7-round mock drafts like a couple of months ago. But what can people here in Jacksonville anticipate when they head over to the website here in the final days before the NFL draft?
Yeah, you'll be able to find everything you want. I'll have 2 more 7-round mock drafts before the draft. So I'll have one next week on Monday, and then I'll have another right before the draft. And I'll have scouting reports for over 1,200 players that I've watched in this draft. Those will be up and we'll end up having a free draft guide a couple days before the draft that you can download and read.
And Shane, final question. There is some thought that there might be a very interesting trade market on draft weekend, maybe more so than in years past. And last year we saw A.J. Brown get dealt during the draft. You know, whether you're talking Aaron Rodgers, maybe Lamar Jackson, who knows. Do you believe that? Do you think the trade market might be more active this draft than we've seen in a while?
I don't really see it. I think it could. I think because we are looking at some of these very expensive second contracts, I think teams, you know, that's what happened with A.J. Brown. Just the Titans weren't willing to pay that money. There's been some rumors of, say, T. Higgins with Cincinnati. He's going to need a new contract, but so's Jamar Chase, so's Joe Burrow. Maybe they can move him. But I think it's a lot of people looking at last year and saying, oh, this is just going to happen again. Whereas I think we have some different team philosophies this year that feel like they're contenders and are going to want to keep their guys. I don't think it's going to be as player-heavy trades as last year.
DraftCountdown.com is an excellent resource in the days now leading up to the NFL Draft. Shane Hallam, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Shane, this is probably our last chat before the draft. We'll dial your phone after the draft to recap, but certainly appreciate you joining us for the last couple of months. We'll talk again after the draft, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
And thank you to Shane Hallam, DraftCountdown.com, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. As again, we are 1 week from tonight. That is just hard to believe. 1 week from tonight in Kansas City, the 2023 NFL Draft. The Jaguars own the 24th pick in round number 1. Now, they'll have 9 selections in total, at least how it sits right now. 1 in round 1, 1 in round 2, 1 in round 3, 2 in round number 4. They do not currently have a 5th round pick. And then I believe 3 6th round picks, and then finally 1 7th round selection. But that'll just about do it for what has been a very busy Thursday night edition of Hacker After Dark here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Again, thank you to Shane Hallam, DraftCountdown.com, for joining us tonight. My friend David Waters stopped by as well of the Gators Breakdown podcast as Florida's spring game in the books, the second spring under Billy Napier and his staff in the books. So, look, a lot of questions surrounding Florida. One thing is pretty certain, though, right now. They're picking up a lot of steam on the recruiting trail. You look at that 2024 class, you look at the 2025 class. As much question as there is about Gator football heading into the 2023 season, they are not losing steam on the recruiting trail, which is certainly a good sign for Billy Napier and the Florida Gators moving forward. So, again, thank you to David Waters for joining us tonight. And back in hour number 1, Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network stopped by. I think we've had Ryan on probably once a month dating back to December. Certainly appreciate his work leading up to the draft. And again, thank him for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. We'll be back tomorrow night on a Friday to close out the week here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Thank you to Anthony Salazar for producing it tonight. Anthony in for Denmark did a terrific job. Anthony, appreciate your time as always. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Thursday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Thursday evening, and we will do it all over again tomorrow night to close out the week on a Friday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
Jump on Gators baseball here, 1010XL.
It's a battle of top 10 teams. Number 3 Florida and number 6 South Carolina. Gators Gamecocks in Columbia. Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday afternoon on 1010 AM.
So I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 5-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $30,000 a year, and right now graduate making over $80,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition and no student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted into the program, your only costs are the books and the course fees, around $700 a year.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org.
Apply by May 18th.
When you get nachos, tacos, empanadas, spicy queso with jalapenos, Pepto-Bismol's there. Pepto-Bismol provides fast, effective relief from nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, and diarrhea. All the things that can happen unexpectedly on vacation. So before you travel, pack the Pepto. Pepto-Bismol.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Calling all Buffalo Bills, Annie Oakley's sharpshooters, and amateur marksmen. Join some fun folks for an afternoon of competitive clay shooting to benefit Operation New Uniform, providing transformative training and career services to empower veterans and military spouses to successfully transition from military service to a meaningful career. Friday, April 28th at Clay Target Sports on a state-of-the-art 15-station sporting clay course. Register at onvet.org.
Hayes Carline here, and let's talk of getting rid of pain with QC Kinetics. Get lasting relief from joint pain without surgery or drugs. QC Kinetics has clinics in Ponte Vedra and in Mandarin on San Jose. Call 904-274-5522. They've taken it to a whole new level with new medical director, Dr. Peter Atch, a renowned triple board certified doctor with decades of experience. Look, if you're tired of living with pain in your back, hips, shoulders, knees, don't let anyone tell you surgery is your only option. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. Call 904-274-5522. Learn how advanced regenerative medicine can get you real relief. Don't go under the knife. Don't deal with downtime. QC Kinetics takes the healing properties from your own body, concentrates them, and puts them into your affected joint to repair and restore the damaged tissue. QC Kinetics, call 904-274-5522.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On April 20th, 1912, after several rainouts and devastating news of the Titanic, Fenway Park officially opens. The Red Sox beat the New York Highlanders 7-6 in 11 innings.
I'm Coach Ellen Darley with Darley's Plumbing. You know I'm a baseball fan, so here's a wild pitch to you about our services. Some plumbing companies are sneaky about stealing from your wallet, while I prefer stolen bases. And just like baseball has unwritten rules, well, plumbing does too. We say, crack of the bat, good. Crack of the plumber, bad. So our team shows up in uniform, ready to work with no curveballs. And like a closer, you can save the day with Darley's Plumbing, where quality counts. Online at darleysplumbing.com.
Instant Keys specializes in replacement of lost, stolen, or broken keys and remotes. Serving the First Coast for over 20 years, Instant Keys provides expert service for nearly every foreign and domestic vehicle, including most luxury models. So don't be intimidated by today's high-tech automotive keys. At Instant Keys, you get dealership-level service at a fraction of the time and cost without the dealership hassle. For honest, professional locksmith service, call Instant Keys today, 722-1111.
This is Hayes Carline for Kingfish Pest Control, a local family-owned business that specializes in pest, termites, mosquito, and rodent prevention. I tell you what, when I got my new home, I had to put on my reporter's hat, find out who really is the best, and it turns out there's no competition. Kingfish provides exceptional service and treats me like a valued customer, not just an account. That's why I wholeheartedly recommend Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay, for this Cannons of Jacksonville commercial, we need an idea to really come out with a bang.
Like having a guy shot out of a cannon.
Nah, too messy. In fact, Cannons is known for all your towing needs.
So like my car won't start.
No. Towing products. Cannons does custom welding fabrication and installation of trailer hitches, goosenecks, tow bars, truck racks.
So you might say Cannons is my best shot at finding that inventory in stock?
Boom. You said it.
Visit cannonsofjacks.com.
Find your why in your next career move at the First Coast YMCA. Everyone can get involved and make a difference in your community at the Y. And if you'd like to turn your passion into a fulfilling career, the Y is an equal opportunity employer and is now hiring youth program leaders, lifeguards, swim instructors, and more. Plus, Y staff enjoy benefits including free YMCA membership and free childcare while you work. Find your passion, find your why in a career at fcymca.org.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. This is the flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM and FM. Jacksonville Beach. 1010XL. Home sweet home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach. This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. The following program was pre-recorded.